Right, let's start with some warm-up questions. Now on the warm-up questions, it's asking you about graphs and where they intersect. So if we look at this, it says, where do the lines intersect if necessary round the coordinates to the nearest whole number? You're supposed to find the intersection either algebraically or graphically. So graphically, the way you would find the intersection is you would go, okay, where do those 2 points intersect? And then you would just say, well, where is that point? And it looks like from 0, 0, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left, and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, which would make it -4, -5 would be the coordinates of the point. Okay, but I always like to check. One thing you also want to do is look at the coordinates and see, is it going by ones, is it going by two, what dimensions is it going by? Okay, algebraically, and I would do algebraically just to check and make sure, because sometimes grids aren't exact. Algebraically, what you would do is you have the two equations. You have the equation y equals 2x plus 3 and the equation y equals x minus 1. Those are the equations of the lines. So to find out where they intersect, you set them equal to one another, the x portion. Okay, so since they're both y, I can set those equal to each other, meaning I can set 2x plus 3 equal to x minus 1. And then if I solve that, I will know what the x value is where they intersect, or where they're the same line. So to solve this, I would need to get the x's on the same side. So this is a positive x. If I subtract it here, it will cancel. I have to do whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. So I have to subtract a 1x here also. So 2 minus 1 just leaves me with a 1x. I still have plus 3 here. And that equals -1 was all that's left on the right-hand side over here. All right, I still need to solve for x. It's x plus 3, so I do the opposite of adding 3 and subtract 3 from both sides. And that gives me x equals -4. Okay, so that's part of my solution. So it looks like I was right. They intersect at the point -4 for x. And then to find your y value, what you do is you put that number back into either of these two equations to find out what y is. So let's say I put it back into that first equation. I'd have y equals, it's supposed to be 2x, so I have 2 times my x we found was -4, so I replace the x with a -4 plus 3. 2 times -4 is -8. And -8 plus 3 is -5. So I was correct on the grid. It's at the point -4, -5. That is where the two lines intersect. Notice if I had put -4 into this one instead, I still would have got -5. -4 minus 1 is -5. Okay, so it says, where do these lines intersect? Around the coordinates to the nearest whole number. Okay, so you can find your intersection either algebraically or graphically is what our options are given here. So let's take a look. So looking at our two lines, we can see where they intersect just by looking at the graph. The problem is it's hard to pinpoint the exact point because notice our lines, each section goes by 2's this time. Okay, and our intersection is somewhere around here, but we can't tell exactly where. So the best option when that happens is to use an algebraically to solve it. Remember, algebraically to do that, what we want to do is, since this is y equals 12x and this is y equals 8x minus 2, they're both y, so we can set them equal to one another. We can do 12x equals 8x minus 2. We would want to solve that, so we want to get x's on the same side. I have a positive 8x here, so if I subtract 8x, whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. 12 minus 8 gives me 4x, and that's equal to negative 2. Divide both sides by 4, and x equals negative 2 divided by 4 is negative 1/2, or negative 0.5. So that's the x for where they intersect. Remember, they intersect in a point, so my x value of my point is negative 0.5. Now I need to go back and find the y value. I can do that by plugging that x that I found back into either of these. They will give you the same answer. Say I use this equation here. If y equals 12x, and we know that x is negative 0.5, we put that in there, and we have y equals 12 times negative 0.5. 12 times negative 0.5 is negative 6. So the intersection is at negative 0.5, negative 6 would be the intersection of these two lines, which is about right here. So see, I would have been way off guessing by my graph. That's the hard part that can come up with when you are working with graphs.